Classifying your data inside of ALTR is simple. The option to generate a data classification report is available while connecting a database to ALTR or when editing an existing database connection. You can see here I'm going to enter some information about my Snowflake database, like the host name and the name of the database. At the bottom of the screen, I see a checkbox called Tag Data by Classification. From here, I have a few options. I can pick an option to classify and tag the data using Snowflake's native capabilities, or I can use Google DLP to classify and tag this data. For today's demo, I'm going to stick with Google DLP classification. Once we've filled out all of the fields, we can hit the big purple connect button to connect this database to ALTR and trigger a classification job on the data within. To see the classification report, I will navigate to Data Management on the left-hand side and select the GDLP Classification Report tab. Classification is currently running, so I'll wait a minute and give the report a chance to populate. After about 60 seconds or so, we see a report of our data classification. I can see that 100% of the data in this database was able to be classified. The report then gives me some insight into the type of data we have in these columns. We start off at the top, saying that about 50% of our columns have person name data in them. We can also see more sensitive data down below. For example, we see email addresses here. We can add the columns directly to ALTR from this classification report to begin governing them. And that's how easy it is to classify your data inside of ALTR. To view every query on your sensitive data, on the left side of the ALTR portal, navigate to the audit logs and then the query log page. On this page, you can see all the queries and data that is sent to ALTR from Snowflake. You can filter the queries by a number of different categories. I will filter by the date, but you can also filter by things like columns, the type of query, for example, a select, an update, an insert, or a delete query, the application, or the tags on the query. We can click on the full information for a query to display all of the query's associated metadata. We can see information here like the user that ran this query, how many rows were returned, which columns were returned, and much more information that you can see here. To set masking policies using ALTR, first identify the sensitive data you would like to mask. As you can see here, I have some email addresses that are plain text and I would like to limit access to them. I've already added this column to ALTR, so now it's time to mask using a lock. A lock groups rows and columns together, as well as a mask type on those columns. For this example, I'm going to allow account admin access to the email column, but only the domain portion of the email, so everything after the @ sign. I choose my column to apply masking to, as well as the email masking type. Now that that lock is created, I can go back to Snowflake and execute the query as account admin. You can see here that the email column is now masked. With ALTR, you can rate limit access to sensitive data. To start out, I have an unprotected email column that is accessible from any role, as you can see here. As I have showed in a previous video, you can add a lock to ALTR to group a set of roles with a set of columns, as well as associate masking policies with those columns. In this lock, I will allow the account admin role to see the email column in plain text by selecting the No Mask option. With this, every other role will be locked out of this column. Just by creating that lock, we've already locked down the email column. As you can see, the account admin role still has access, but every other role gets blocked when trying to access this column. This does leave one more problem. The account admin role has unlimited access to these emails. That is to say, if the account admin role wants to access millions of these emails, they are more than welcome to. ALTR has the ability to rate limit access to data. I can do this by creating what we call a threshold. To create a threshold, I first pick an action. I'd like ALTR to block the query when the rate limit is broken, so I'm going to choose the block option. But we can just generate an alert for the security team to review while still allowing the query to complete if we'd like. I then pick a rule. I'm going to set it to block when a certain access rate is breached, but we can add other rules, like block by IP address, or block queries that happen at certain times, like block queries that happen over the weekend. I then set the rate limit. I'm going to say an account admin should not be accessing more than 50 emails per minute for this example. Finally, I'll pick the lock and the roles that this rate limit will apply to. Now let's show this threshold in action. If I try to grab 100 rows as the account admin, I will now get blocked by ALTR because I'm trying to access more than 50 rows per minute as our threshold states. When this threshold is breached, ALTR will generate an alert for the security team to review. Until that alert is resolved, the user that broke the rate limit will not have any access to that column whatsoever. To generate an alert when sensitive data is accessed, we will just create a threshold like we did in a previous video. This time, we'll set the action to generate an anomaly when a rate limit is breached. Generate anomaly will still allow the query to complete, but will generate an alert for the security team to review. We'll set it to rate limit by picking the access rate rule and set the limit to 1 row per minute. Then we'll pick our locks. In this case, we choose a lock over the email column and the roles this threshold will affect. We can show this in action by going to Snowflake and running a query that will select the email column. Once we have run this query, we'll go back into ALTR into the Anomalies page and check out the alert. You can even have these anomalies push out to a bucket in AWS S3, which will allow you to integrate these alerts with other tools. For example, I could set up Slack alerts whenever a sensitive column is accessed.